Yo, 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 what's up? This is the Star Trek Review. I want to be cool, but I can't. Yeah, here's the Star Trek Review. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 5 is probably a return to form. I really enjoyed this episode. And as you can see from the pre-titles of this review, I am not cool. And I've never been cool. And that's just the way it is. So if you haven't watched the episode, make sure you go and watch the episode because it is a lot of fun. I really like the fact it focused on Rutherford. It feels like we've not seen a Rutherford-focused episode for a long time. It had a lot of interesting story background for Rutherford because obviously his implant is damaged. And you see that before his implant, he was a bit of a rebel and a loose cannon. We find out that the implant wasn't by choice, it wasn't aesthetic, that it was some secretive admiral.
This is going to set us back years.
How much do you want to erase?
Everything that has to do with me or the program.
That's a lot. Come out with a totally different personality.
I don't care. What do we do if someone asks why he has it?
We programmed that in. He'll think it was elective.
And it's higher up anyway. This episode was really good in the two-handedness. Tendi obviously realizes that it's not Rutherford who's in control of his body as her friend. In my opinion, the fact that they didn't join them was really good because obviously one had the knowledge of who did the implant and one didn't. It was a really fun episode dealing with that. So the B plot, and arguably an also fun plot, is that Boimler and Mariner are in the Starfleet booth on a planet trying to convince people to join Starfleet. And it's a really funny beat. Next to them is an independent archaeologists group, and she starts riling them up, talking about how Starfleet's a bit silly, and Boimler's like, I love the uniform and stuff like that. And Mariner's just like, oh, I want to punch him. We all know people like that.
That isn't violent. Well, tell that to the Romulans, the Klingons, the Cardassians. But they attack us. It's self-defense. Oh, right. You guys totally aren't a pseudo-navy at all.
And later on, it's sort of, I love the fact that Boimler's the one who goes off because we've seen bold Boimler. And obviously, Boimler's just reached the point where he's sort of overstepping the boundaries and he's just literally, and he's pulling out all kinds of things like the episode, he mentions the episode Conspiracy, which is brought up, where there was literal bugs in the admirals and we never saw a resolution to that. There's all these things that he brings up in sort of going, we don't want to help colonists, we don't want to do this, we just want to explore, but we have to do this.
Quasars! But you know what? It's the right thing to do! Get back in the car!
I like the little, the dynamic that Starfleet and the colonists on these planets don't really like each other because they both think that they're better than each other. It's a really interesting dynamic to have. The guise of the episode is really interesting in that it separates the two characters, but gives them plenty to do. Rutherford is definitely the strength of this episode because we're learning about a character, we're learning that he has a dark past, or at least a rebellious past, and we learn that he used to build machines, and the new Rutherford with the implant is a bit more by the book. But he also has friends and he works with people and he works well in a team, whereas the old Rutherford was much more of a risk taker. It was a really, really good episode, especially with, it sort of advanced all the characters. And that's what, to be honest, I've been waiting for Season 3. It felt like we've seen a little bit with Bold Boimler, and we've seen a little bit with sort of Mariner having to deal with Ransom and having to be and Mariner dealing with Ransom in an antagonistic kind of way, but he's there to support her. And you see at the end of the episode, like, he's really proud of Boimler for sort of standing up and being a hard ass to the colony people and stuff like that. And he's sort of let's go for a drink after you're out of the brig.
You're just gonna spend a night in the brig.
Wow, I've never been sent to the brig before. I hope you don't think less of me.
Honestly, hearing you stand up for Starfleet and give it to those loudmouths, I was impressed.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Let's grab a drink when you're out. I want to hear how those Outpost losers cried when you kicked over their table.
There's such a tight-knit little group of crew members that it really feels like they got each other's backs. I think it's weird. It took till this episode of the season, halfway through, for me to go, okay, now I see what they're doing. I see where they're going. Mariner obviously got offered to join the Independent Archaeologists Guild from on the message she received at the end, and she saves the contact, so maybe we might have Mariner deciding to leave Starfleet eventually. I personally don't think that's what will happen. I think Boimler, eventually this overconfidence and this boisterousness might come and bite him in the ass. I feel like that's where they're leading to with these 5 episodes. I think Rutherford knowing his past and adding a mystery to Rutherford, like, oh, he's not this nice. Something happened to make him this way. It'll be interesting to see if maybe they bring back the aliens from the episode Conspiracy. And if that happens, it'll be really, really great. I think Tendi was really good in this as well, because she pretty much clicks on that this isn't Rutherford pretty fast. It was pretty obvious, to be honest. I thought that they were going to sort of stretch that out, but they didn't. They luckily just went straight for she knows. And then obviously you have the characters working with each other to capture him, and he thinks he's outsmarted them, but they've obviously got him. We don't have a clear structure, and it sort of jumps you from place to place, and it makes sense, and it's logical. I think that Mariner and Boimler on the planet, sort of trying to convince people of Starfleet and showing their love for Starfleet, while also showing that the universe, Starfleet does have a lot of things that are a bit odd, like, for example, mentioning that why does an exploration organization need uniforms? They're not the military, which is a question that fans have brought up. And a lot of those seem like those aliens coming up were just asking fan questions, essentially. So suffice to say, I really enjoyed this episode. I think it nailed what Lower Decks should be, and it got that. In my last review, I talked about how there wasn't anything that hooked me in. I'm hooked in now. I know that we're probably going to find out what happened to Rutherford. Is Mariner going to leave? Is Boimler going to get some sort of comeuppance from his behaviour? I think Tendi might be promoted before all of them. She seems to be progressing in terms of her career a lot faster. It's a really interesting and great dynamic that all of these characters have. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I hope that they can build this momentum. I think the first 4 episodes sort of introduced the premise and plotted along. A lot of the Star Trek does nowadays. But this episode sort of went, okay, this is what we're doing. We're building and we're growing and we're changing. So I hope this holds up for next week. So that's my review. It was a really great episode. Make sure to check out my other reviews of Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks. I also have random topic videos. I also have the Lieutenant Conservative comedy skits. And make sure to check out my TikTok, my Instagram, my Twitter, everything. And come back to Trek Trav.